From movies to TV shows to storybooks, musicals, whatever, one of the most fun and exciting characters anyone can ever watch is an evil mad scientist. I will agree that not only are these characters fun to watch, they are also extremely fun to play. Now the coolest part about these characters though is that they are actually based in some truth. Hey everyone, Dewey Stewart back and ready to give you a list that will make you second guess making friends with that scientist friend of yours. But before we get started, don't forget that the amazing Rachel Fisher and I will be launching our brand new channel Bumblebee August 11th.
Oh, hi.
Hey Bumblebees, are you ready for the biggest top 10 channel yet? Because if you are, you need to go like and subscribe to Bumblebee right now.
You can be the first one to hop on there and make a really gross bee pun, because we've been busy.
That is next week. Don't miss out and go and like and subscribe to our hive right freaking now. Anyway, back to Most Amazing. Today we are looking at the top 10 evil scientists in history that went mad. So turn up that Bunsen burner, throw on your evil safety goggles, and let's get to it. Starting us off at number 10, we have Giovanni Aldini. Aldini is one of the many scientists who is actually the inspiration for the infamous Mary Shelley novel, Frankenstein. Aldini was a 19th century physicist obsessed with the effects of electrocution. Who isn't, am I right? Anyway, he was a bit of a celebrity and he was known to travel throughout Europe demonstrating the powers of electricity. What makes this guy evil though? Well, he was one of the first scientists to use electrical shocks on mental patients. He also enjoyed electrocuting corpses. One of his most famous acts involved him displaying a body of a hanged criminal and then shocking the body to then make the muscles contract and spasm as if the deceased was still alive. I get it. Electricity is cool, but how about a little respect for the dead? Aldini was also highly respected at the time. The Emperor of Austria even made him a Knight of the Iron Crown. Ooh, sounds evil, doesn't it? At number 9, we have Hwang Woo-Suk. Hwang is famously known for his work creating human stem cell lines using cloned embryos from patients suffering from spinal cord injury. This major accomplishment promised an endless supply of stem cells genetically matched to patients, but it turned out to be all lies. Hwang admitted in 2006 that he was indeed falsifying data, but still claiming that he had the ability to do what he was lying about all along. The court found Hwang guilty of buying human eggs in violation of the country's bioethics laws and embezzling 830 million won, which is equivalent to $700,000 of government money. He was sentenced to 2 years in a Korean prison. He received such a light sentence because the judge admired Hwang's dedication to Korean biotechnology. Many other Korean scientists in the community are not ready to welcome him back though, after embezzling so much money on what is supposed to be a great and worthy cause. One Korean researcher states that it is truly tragic because he is clearly one talented experimentalist. Yeah, that's a lot of money. Pretty hard to just trust someone with government and public money after a stunt like that, but hey, I hope there's some scientific breakthrough soon. At number 8, we have Jose Delgado. Back in the 1960s at Yale University, Professor Jose Delgado was working on some pretty scary stuff. Delgado invented one of the first ever brain chips. He was known to use these chips in bulls, monkeys, and humans. It is reported that he once stopped a charging bull in its tracks after pressing a button that activated the small chip inside the animal's head. With the touch of a button, these radio waves could make these animals snarl, growl, smile, invoke lust, hunger, and many more responses. Delgado recently described himself as a libertarian and pacifist whose goal as a scientist was to liberate us from our biology and especially mental illnesses and aggression. I don't know about that. It sounds a lot more to me like he was trying to take over the world with some pretty crazy mind control chips, but he was also known to test on mental patients. Whether this one is with good intentions or not, this one freaks the hell out of me. At number 7, we have Albert Bandura. Bandura is a famous psychologist who, interestingly enough, just passed away days ago in California. He is famous for being one of the first scientists to discover that learning occurs both through beliefs and through social modeling, which then led to the social cognitive theory. One of his most famous experiments he ever conducted was back in 1961 and was titled the Bobo Doll Experiment. In this experiment, Bandura hired researchers to physically and verbally abuse a clown-faced inflatable toy in front of many preschool-aged children. Which, when the adult researchers left and the children were left alone with the already beat-up doll, the children took on the attitudes of the adults and began yelling and beating up the doll as well. This was later to prove the theory that children were indeed influenced by the violence in media and helped prove his later social cognitive theory. The theory that a person's environment, cognition, and behavior all interact to determine how that person functions, as opposed to one of those factors playing a dominant role. Teaching kids to be future bullies in the schoolyard? Pure monkey see evil, pure monkey do evil. At number 6, we have Carney Landis. Landis was a graduate student at Minnesota University back in 1924. He asked his other graduate students to assist him in conducting an experiment in understanding if we humans all react similarly in different emotions. So, he painted specific lines on each individual's face and then got them to react to certain stimuli. At first, the experiment was harmless. He would record each of their faces as they listened to music, smell ammonia, read passages from the Bible, tell a lie, little things like that. But seeing no real results, he decided to up the ante. He then showed them pornographic images, then some horrendous photos of skin conditions, firing random gunshots to frighten his test subjects, getting them to stick their hand in a pail of slimy live frogs that had a live wire in the bottom, so when they touched the live wire, they would get an electric shock. Finally, the worst one of them all, decapitating a rat. He finally put a live rat in one hand and a knife in the other hand, and the test subject was then demanded to cut off the animal's head. If they refused, then he would do it in front of them. Sounds pretty scarring, if I do say so myself. Some started crying, others laughed in disbelief, and others got angry and swore at him. 2/3 ended up carrying out the dark death sentence, and the worst part of it all was that Landis even used a 13-year-old boy, who was actually a patient at the university. His findings in the end proved nothing and were quite different patient to patient. In the end, he just seemed like an evil madman scientist. Coming in at our halfway point at number 5, we have Johann Conrad-Dippei. This scientist was born in Castle Frankenstein back in 1673, so it is only fitting that he was a mad and evil scientist. Dippei was a theologian, alchemist, and scientist who developed a popular dye called Prussian blue, and it's actually still used to this very day, which is very cool, but he is also known for the most controversial of things, such as mixing animal bones and hides together in a stew he named Dippel's oil. Real original. He claimed that whoever drank this gross oil would then have an extended life, but he never said how long either, so I mean, whatever, dude. He loved dissecting animal bodies, and many believed he frequently dug up and stole human bodies and conducted weird experiments on them in his laboratory. Needless to say, this guy is one of the main inspirations for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But to the best of our knowledge, he never had the same luck as Dr. Frankenstein in the book. I'm guessing he tried to give that magical animal elixir to the corpses to see if he could bring them back to life, but sorry pal, no liquid on earth can do that. And oh, by the way, Miss Johnson would like her husband back, and her cat. At number 4, we have Duncan MacDougall. MacDougall was born in 1866 in Glasgow, Scotland, and later moved to Haverhill, Massachusetts. One of his most famous experiments he conducted was the 21 grams experiment, where he placed a dying patient on a cot that was on a scale and weighed the patient before and after the moment of death. His findings? That immediately after death, the deceased weighed 21 grams less, meaning that the soul was indeed a physical part to a human's body and that it did indeed leave once a person passed away. The work was absolutely destroyed in the scientific community, but defended in the religious community, as they deemed this was proof of a soul in a person's body. But what makes this guy evil? Well, he conducted the exact same experiment with dogs and noticed no weight change at all. He then made the statement that dogs don't have souls. Dogs don't have souls? You don't have a soul, you jerk! You say one more wrong thing about me, mutt, and I'll shove your pipes right up your kilt. Starting us off in our top 3, at number 3, we have Louis Jolyon West. For anyone out there that loves animals just as much as they love their fellow humans, this one is a scary one for you. West was quite the controversial scientist and researcher with ties to the top secret CIA project called Project MK Ultra. It was a project that used many US citizens, some of them even unwittingly, to use LSD and other drugs to see if these substances would have any mind control effects. West's studies are also believed to have major repercussions, such as a murder of a young victim, as well as the death of a full-grown elephant. The reason he felt the need to experiment on elephants, though, West knew that male elephants experienced fits, so he believed that he could induce an elephant rage with LSD. He gave the giant creature enough LSD to dose 3,000 people, and tragically, the elephant died. It was then that West concluded that elephants were sensitive to LSD. Yeah, do you think? For many reasons, this guy seems like an evil scientist. From human and animals' deaths related to the overdose of LSD, I think it's safe to say that we don't want to get anywhere near this guy. At number 2, we have Sidney Gottleib. Sidney Gottleib was the one who headed Project MKUltra and worked closely with West in our number 3 spot. Gottleib was tasked with testing LSD in interrogation settings, but he didn't just test his work in interrogation settings or even in a lab. He actually brought his studies to the bar, where he would slip LSD into unsuspecting bar patrons' drinks. I don't think we need to question how unethical or wrong this one is, as it is clearly something that is messed up and sometimes still happens today, unfortunately. But this video is titled Evil Scientists in History Who Went Mad, and I think this is a pretty good proof that this guy was off his freaking rocker. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot is most definitely the most evil scientist of them all. This is Josef Mengele. Josef was one of the most famous scientists at the most horrific concentration camp of World War II. A member of the Third Reich, Josef was a camp doctor. He was known to be one of the doctors to select the poor people who were to be sent to the gas chambers, and even went as far as volunteering for more and more shifts when he could. He also conducted many torturous and inhumane experiments on prisoners of all ages. After the war, Josef escaped to Argentina and was never captured by the authorities. He did, however, drown in 1979 in Brazil. While many on this list were half-jokingly evil and gone mad, I think anyone who takes pleasure in sending large numbers of people to their doom is most definitely evil, and I think mad just goes hand in hand with this one. Anyway, that has been our top 10 evil scientists in history that went mad. Aside from number 1, which one did you find the most evil? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe down below. Not just to Most Amazing, but also to Bumblebee. Trust me when I say you do not want to miss out on our launch next week, August 11th. It's a Wednesday. Be there, and until next time, I've been your host Dewey Stewart, and I will see you all back here very, very soon. Bye-bye.